So, 2 years ago, the leadership team there at Regina felt that the school had a brand messaging challenge.
Mhm.
So, tell us a little bit, what was the issue, and what did you hope new brand messaging would do for the school? And then, how did we tackle that challenge?
I think that's twofold. I think in the landscape of high schools in the Chicago area, especially the all-girls options, there are, I believe, 9 all-girls schools in the Chicagoland area, which is incredible. They're
Hmm.
all great schools. There's a fit for every girl. There's so many options in general. And we were trying to figure out who we were. What words do we use to describe what it means to be a Regina girl, what it means to be Dominican? What kind of educational experience do we offer here? And for a while, I know we really relied heavily on being the school that focuses on leadership for young women. We have a
Hmm.
leadership institute here. It's very unique in a high school setting, and it's an incredible program. However, how we talked about that wasn't really meshing up with the true holistic experience of our students. And that doesn't resonate when you're talking with families every year and you're changing your messaging or you're changing your tagline. So that was one thing when you came into our lives. We were so grateful that we were like, okay, let's sit down. Let's look at everything that we do here and how do we talk about ourselves. And I also think the rise in social media has really played into the messaging and the branding of not only Regina Dominican, but high schools across the country.
Welcome to the Turbo Branding Show, where we help you ignite your growth by leveraging your brand to grow faster, easier, and more successfully. I'm your host, Sue Kirshner, and today I'm welcoming Ellie Rich to the show. So let's delve into today's episode and turbocharge your brand. First, thank you for being here, Ellie. We've been working together for a few years, and I'm really excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive deeper into branding and to just have a great conversation today.
Excellent. Excellent. So I know my listeners are going to appreciate your insights on branding for private high schools because, like for many organizations, you have multiple audiences that you need to communicate with. So branding is important for enrollment, for community goodwill, and even to provide a certain cachet for the alumni.
Mhm.
So let me tell you a little bit more about Ellie and why she's the ideal guest to talk about branding with us today. So Ellie Rich is the Vice President of Enrollment and Marketing at Regina Dominican High School, where she loves helping families discover the opportunities that make the school so special. Passionate about all girls education and an alumna of the Regina Dominican herself, Ellie enjoys connecting with students and parents, sharing the excitement of academic excellence, leadership growth, and personal discovery. And with a background in recreation and experience in marketing and communications, she brings creativity, energy, and a personal touch to every interaction, ensuring families feel welcome and inspired. Now, I've done quite a few new parent surveys for you asking about the enrollment experience, and I can absolutely validate that you, your enrollment team, and everyone at Regina Dominican ensures that families feel welcome and inspired. It's kind of your secret sauce.
Yes,
But
it is. Thank
yeah,
you.
but let's start with your journey. So I
Mhm.
read a little bit about your bio here, but why did you end up back at your high school for your professional career?
That is a great question. If you would have asked me in 2009 when I graduated, if I would come back and work at Regina, I would have been like, absolutely not. My goal was to go to college, move out of Chicago, work in politics. And then I discovered campus recreation in college. I went to the University of Mississippi and found a real passion and joy there. And I was able to move forward into graduate school and become a graduate assistant at Oklahoma State University, getting my master's in recreation studies. And then from there, I dabbled in a little bit of politics. I worked for the city of St. Charles in Missouri.
Hmm.
Then I realized I really missed home and I did, in fact, want to move back to Chicago and be near my family.
Yeah.
And I worked for the YMCA of Metro Chicago for a year, which I loved. I worked as a youth and family director, running day camps, specialty programs, after school programs, special events for the community. And I loved it. And I always promised myself I would work for an organization that I was passionate about. And a position as an enrollment associate opened up in 2017 here at Regina. And I just thought, why not? Why not put my name back in the mix at Regina Dominican, see what happens? And so I got the job. And after working in enrollment for a couple of years, I was approached by our president at the time to apply for the VP of Enrollment and Marketing. And I've been in that position now for 5 years. So My grandma used to have a saying, you're always going to end up where you're supposed to. You may not get there the way you thought, but you will. And that definitely applies to me. I've had a lot of great experience the last 5 years with marketing and communications because my education degrees were not in that specific field, but by connecting with Regina alums, professionals like yourself in the area, I've truly found such a passion in marketing, branding, as well as the people connection with the enrollment piece, which has been great.
No, that's excellent. That's excellent. And what would you like to be the mark that you leave at Regina Dominican?
Oh, I, that's such a great question. I've never really thought of that. I think the mark at Regina that is left is by the girls. So I guess in that sense, as a graduate, I've left my mark in some way, shape, or form. But I guess it's just to continue recruiting future Regina girls and meeting with families and showing them the value of an all-girls education and the value of a Regina education. So I would say, I guess that's the mark I hope to have is to continue the enrollment growth that we're seeing here and continuing to see all the great things our students are accomplishing. We were just recognized as a blue ribbon school. We've been AP Platinum status by the College Board the last 2 years. And so our girls are doing incredible things, and we always want to add more Regina girls to our family here.
Excellent. Great answer. So now let's switch away from you for a second
Yes.
and let's talk about the challenge that we worked together on, right?
Mhm.
So 2 years ago, the leadership team there at Regina felt that the school had a brand messaging challenge.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit, what was the issue, and what did you hope new brand messaging would do for the school? And then you and I can kind of riff and talk a little bit about, well, how did we tackle that challenge?
I think that's twofold. I think in the landscape of high schools in the Chicago area, especially the all-girls options, there are, I believe, 9 all-girls schools in the Chicagoland area, which is incredible. They're
Hmm.
all great schools. There's a fit for every girl, especially, there's so many options in general. We have great public schools in our backyard. We have a co-ed school down the street. And we were trying to figure out who we were. What words do we use to describe what it means to be a Regina girl, what it means to be Dominican, what kind of educational experience do we offer here? You hear of the schools that they're known for their academics or they're known for their athletics. And for a while, I know we really relied heavily on being the school that focuses on leadership for young women. We have a
Hmm.
leadership institute here. It's very unique in a high school setting, and it's an incredible program. However, that was how we talked about that wasn't really meshing up with the true holistic experience of our students. So were we the STEM school, the leadership school, and every year we kind of transitioned and tried these new identities, you could say.
Yeah,
And that doesn't resonate when you're talking with families every year and you're changing your messaging or you're changing your tagline. Because if
right.
one year you say this and the next year you say that, you lose that consistency. And
Absolutely.
so that was one thing when you came into our lives. We were so grateful that we were like, okay, let's sit down. Let's look at everything that we do here and how do we talk about ourselves. And I also think the rise in social media has really played into the messaging and the branding of not only Regina Dominican, but high schools across the country. As we know, it's evolving constantly. And now we're going into the age of AI, which, has its benefits when it comes to marketing, but there's also the concern of that.
Sure.
But how we brand ourselves from a visual perspective and the words that we use for social media. So it was almost a twofold question we were trying to answer in an issue that we were trying to tackle.
Yeah. And it was a fascinating project. I enjoyed it thoroughly coming in, but one of the key things we did, which I do with all my clients, is say, hey, let's go talk to the students and let's talk to the parents and let's figure out what they think the value is. I mean, why did they choose to send their daughter to Regina? And why did their daughter say, yes, I'm up for an all-girls school and excited about that. So one of the things that came out, which as you alluded to, was this emphasis on absolutely loving the leadership component of
Mhm.
the education that these girls get. So whether it's the Leadership Institute or just having the space
Right.
to breathe and share your opinions as a girl at school, and especially in STEM classes or
Mhm.
classes that, maybe, girls are not predominantly the first one to raise their hand at in a different type of school or a co-ed school or things like that. So it definitely came back through the parents' interviews about how warm everybody
Mhm.
was, and making them feel welcome, and the fact that parents were shocked that, oh my gosh, they remembered our name. And we just came to one event early year before and they remembered our name. But also parents resonated with the leadership. But one of the really cool things that came out of the interviews as well was that a lot of the parents said, I know someone, or I know someone who went to Regina,
Mhm.
and it was like, I absolutely love the characteristics of that person, and I want my daughter to be like that person. So
Mhm.
being able to leverage, the result of the education was also something that was really important, I think, in being able to continue to attract more students to the school. So,
And I think working with you and your experience with our families and our students and learning our process, not only for recruiting, but also that we are experts at educating young women and how do we talk about that, and looking at us as a whole community and not just different departments,
mhm.
really helped us zone in on what branding and what messaging is going to resonate with people and what's going to truly reflect who we are as a school.
Okay, excellent. And so the other thing I'm going to ask you is a lot of companies have challenges in just explaining why work with us, right?
Mhm.
And you have an additional challenge in the fact that not only are you saying, why should you send your daughter to our school, but you also have to kind of brand and message why a Catholic school
Mhm.
or a Dominican heavily oriented school and why an all girls.
Mhm.
So how hard is that to kind of leverage the three messages, and which one have you found over the past couple of years is the most important message to get across?
That's a great question. I think especially right now, the day and age, especially within the Chicagoland area and the Archdiocese of Chicago, they're merging schools and parishes and doing things to continue Catholicism in the area and make sure parishes thrive and that there are communities for individuals who are looking for that aspect of Catholic faith in their life, which is great and is a challenge, not just here, but I know everywhere. And I think for us, not only are we Catholic, but we are all girls. But how we talk about that, I think, really relies on our Dominican roots and who we are as a Dominican school. We were founded by the Adrian Dominican Sisters. They are a wonderful group of strong, passionate, exceptionally talented and intelligent women who identified this area and the need for a high school just for girls to learn how to be just that, how to be strong, how to be intelligent, how to be confident, how to be passionate about something. And the Dominican charisms of Veritas and our personal charism of Caritas, so truth and love, paired with the pillars of study, community, prayer. I mean, all of those things, that's how we identify ourselves as being a Catholic all girls school. I hope that's answering some part of your question, but I think right now what's resonating with people, I think, is that sense of faith and having that faith-based institution, whether you're Catholic or not. 60% of our students are Catholic, 40% are not. You do not have to be Catholic to go here.
Right.
Even our theology courses, there's a wide range of different areas of study, not only about, Catholic social teaching or world religions. It's opening our girls' eyes up to things that empower their faith, whether they're Catholic or not. And I think families really like hearing that right now. I think
Yeah.
in today's age, you're looking for something to ground you personally, to ground your family, and to ground your daughters. And I think right now, the faith piece of it, whether you're Catholic or not, is something that families are really grabbing onto, especially because it's reflected in our community and how wonderful our students and our faculty are.
Yeah. And again, I know from interviewing some of the parents that have sent their daughters there and chose Regina and things like that, some of the things they talked about, which I thought was very enlightening to me as well, was, they said, number one, they were absolutely in love with the diversity and inclusion message
Mhm.
that the school offers, but also they were talking about the fact that whether they were Catholic or not, they loved that their daughter would be at a place that would constantly be offering opportunities to serve or to give
Mhm.
back to the
Mhm.
community. And that was something important too. So
Mhm.
that's interesting. Okay, so all right, here's the big question for you. Tell me, what's the brand promise of Regina Dominican High School? What are you promising students they will get when they come to your school?
They will get an exceptional education and they will have access to opportunities beyond what they could have imagined that they would have available to them in high school. Our girls are not just athletes or artists or leaders or campus ministers. They are all of it. They are artists and athletes and also our Dominican preachers. Because of the size and the opportunities of our school, the girls don't have to pick one thing to specialize in. And I know right now in the youth sports area and even in child development, specialization is something that parents are talking about. There's almost too much specialization with sports or arts or music, and there's not a lot of opportunity for kids to be kids and try new things.
Right.
And the girls at Regina can try it all. If they're super passionate about basketball, but they want to try and audition for the musical, they can do that. If you have somebody coming in who isn't Catholic, but identifies as a Christian or non-denominational and is wanting to explore their faith, that doesn't mean that they can't be a Dominican preacher. We have girls that are beautiful dancers, but they're also going to be on the robotics team. They're going to leave here with so many different experiences and have so many different opportunities on campus, off campus, travel opportunities that they can truly say that they did it all in high school. And not every kid can say that when they graduate high school.
Absolutely.
And I think also the relationships that our girls have here with one another. Freshmen aren't just going to be friends with freshmen. They're going to be friends with sophomores or seniors because they're on the flag football team with them, or they're hosting a girls' night in with as a student ambassador with them. You know, we have a senior clap out at the end of every year,
Yeah.
and it's the seniors' last day, and we clap them out of school. And you would think it's just the seniors sad that they're leaving. Oh, there's tears from everybody because the seniors are leaving. Members of our family are leaving. And that relationship that you have also, I don't think can be emulated anywhere else. And it's because of our faculty and staff do such an incredible job creating this space for our students, our families, our alumni, our donors, the girls themselves. I mean, they create that community. So they're leaving here confident, knowing what they're passionate about, ready to tackle the world, and they have this wonderful community backing them up every step of the way, even when they leave 701 Locust Road.
Right. Right. And one of the things that's interesting to me as well is kind of like small private companies versus
Hmm.
larger companies. And you have a small private school versus maybe the larger public schools and things like
Hmm.
that is you can pivot faster. You
Hmm.
can react to things going on in the marketplace because at the end of the day, you're selling something, right? You're obviously promising a great education, but you're selling the fact that your daughter will have an education that
Hmm.
will allow her to move on and achieve her dreams in life and things like that.
Hmm.
You can point to your alumna as
Yep.
definitely an example of, look, we've got doctors, we have judges, we have, people who, may just be community leaders and
Hmm.
things like that. And it's all exciting to see what the end result is
Hmm.
of the education. But what I found interesting is, if STEM has been on the rise for the
Hmm.
past couple of years, and
Yep.
you have been able to offer a robotics team and programs that, again, appeal to the fact that if you want your daughter, or if your daughter's interested in any type of STEM subject whatsoever,
Hmm.
Regina has been able to build a program around
Hmm.
that because you can move faster, be more nimble than a
Yep.
large public education that has to basically appease everyone, right? Because
Right.
they're public, they've got to make sure that they're appeasing the average as opposed to some of the different highlighted areas that might be exciting at this time.
Yeah, that's correct. And we've done the same pivot with even curriculum development. Our principal, Dr. Cassie Pareca, is phenomenal. Our assistant principal, Verna Allworth, she's a Regina girl herself and a parent of two Regina girls. And even the way that we've been able to adapt our curriculum and make sure our faculty are communicating, putting professional learning communities together the last couple of years, looking at our theology curriculum and saying, does this curriculum still meet the needs of our students today? If it doesn't, great, let's pivot. Let's look at this. And that was led by our campus minister and theology teacher, Dr. Megan Toomey, who holistically, with curriculum leads and other members of our theology team, looking at things in classes and topics and saying, does this make sense anymore? What are girls going to want to resonate with? What are they going to want to learn about? How can we get them excited about learning about faith in various formats? So that ability to pivot, has served us well the last 5 years, especially coming out of COVID
Mhm.
and being the only school in the North Shore to return with almost 100% of their students and have zero outbreaks and having that in-person experience when larger schools were unable to do that. We were able to pivot and meet the needs of our families and the needs of our students.
Excellent. Great. Yeah, that's absolutely an ideal example of how you've been able to do that. But so here's another question for you. So after 2 years of us working together on the brand
Hmm.
messaging and tweaking it and working on, the website and how the school presents itself in open houses for families and things like that, you've had two very successful enrollment years. And you
Hmm.
mentioned earlier you were just awarded the coveted National Blue Ribbon School
Yes.
designation.
Yes.
But what are some of the other differences or successes that you've noticed since changing the brand messaging? And they can even be, simple. But again, I'm trying to encourage other organizations to take the time
Hmm.
to go through this exercise to figure out your brand. So, what are some of the successes or differences?
Some of the successes and the differences that we've seen are families are really talking about Regina again as an exceptional selective school where young women are going to do incredible things. And especially being in the North Shore when we do have, New Trier in our backyard, Evanston Township High School not too far from us as well, we're back in the conversation for high school. And using the tagline, academic excellence, unlimited opportunities was perfect because that's exactly who we are.
Mhm.
And we're hearing now when we're out on the road, I have an incredible team. Desiree Jones and Elizabeth Mahalik are my assistant directors of enrollment, and they are passionate, wonderful women who represent Regina incredibly well, and they do amazing things with their positions here. And they're even hearing from families, we've heard about you. You guys have a great school. If your daughter's wanting to be challenged academically, but also have a great experience, we were told to look at Regina. And I
Mhm.
think changing that messaging is really resonating with families. They're talking about us again. And they're talking about us, and then they're coming to open houses and shadow days, and then they're applying. And last year we had the highest matriculation rate of students who applied, were accepted, and enrolled. The last 10 years, it's been between about 70 and 73% of accepted applicants enroll at Regina. Last year's class was 81%. So
Right.
we're seeing that these families are really identifying with what we offer here and how we talk about ourselves. And I think it's so worth it to, even when you're comfortable, if you feel comfortable, don't get too comfortable. If you feel comfortable, challenge yourself, step outside the box, look at your
Yeah.
branding, look at your marketing, look at your audience. Because if you're comfortable, that means tomorrow it's going to change. And are you ready for the change? And I
Right.
think working with you, we were able to really zone in on some things and say, okay, this is how we need to talk about ourselves. If we're asking our girls to leave here confidently, we need to talk about ourselves in a way that's confident.
Right.
So I would say if you're feeling comfortable, that's when you know it's time to look at your branding and your messaging.
No, that's a great point. Absolutely a great point. And, and just to build on what you were saying too, is again, one of the things we found the first time we did the interviews was how
Hmm.
much this idea of leadership and girls' leadership style really resonated. And that was something that was important even when I was going through it, because I'm a firm believer the world, needs more female leaders,
Yeah.
right? And to be able to offer a program like you do, the Leadership
Hmm.
Institute, and just the way that you encourage girls in general to conduct themselves, stand up, be themselves,
Hmm.
um, is something that's very needed. And it was exciting to see that it resonated with the parents. Many of them saying, "Oh my gosh, I want my daughter to be a future leader or to have the skill set to be able to lead and do what she wants." And that definitely came across, I think, in the messaging that you were moving forward. So, all right, I have another question for you. So, because you are lucky enough that you are an organization that has a lot of ambassadors. You have a
Yes.
lot of assets to
Yeah.
help you brand.
Yes.
As a school, you've got your logo, you've got, like the Dominican sisters behind you. You
Hmm.
have even the school mascot. Uh,
Hmm.
and then there's events that happen that allow you to brand a little stronger, like winning, going to state for
Hmm.
basketball, and things like that. But tell me a little bit how you mobilize, let's say, the students as
Yes.
ambassadors in the community, but also the alumna and how they do such a great job of spreading the word of Regina Dominican?
So the student part, I cannot take credit for. Elizabeth Mahalik is the moderator for our student ambassador program, and when Desiree joined our team, they put their brilliant minds together, and Elizabeth just overhauled the entire student ambassador program to really make sure that the girls representing Regina are practicing what they're preaching in a sense, and just really proud about how they're Regina girls and wanting to add to our community. So our students, they're always involved. Our student ambassadors specifically, they meet with Elizabeth, they'll talk to Desiree, they'll give surveys about not only, shadow day experience as a hostess, but also they're on the road with us. We want them to be authentic and when talking about Regina and to not second guess themselves. And Elizabeth and Desiree have done a wonderful job connecting with our students, listening to them, communicating with them, and making sure that they're put into situations that aren't uncomfortable for them and that are situations that are going to allow them to continue to thrive as young women. So that's one part of that. With alumna, I think it's, right now we have a saying where we're not your grandma's Regina anymore because we've been so happy to continue to evolve, to have a school, a place for young women to make deep connections with one another and challenge themselves academically. But even our alum from the early 60s up until, graduates from last year, they're proud of their experience here. They're proud to be Regina girls. We have reunion weekend happening this Saturday, and the class of 75 has chosen to stay on site to celebrate their class reunion because they love this place. And when you come back here, as an alum, I went to my reunion last year. The memories start coming back, and then you see the girls that are leading you around campus today and showing you the new classrooms and new programs that we have. And the pride that you have, it is just, it's hard to describe because they're already proud to be Regina girls and they do incredible things. We have doctors, lawyers, judges, moms, entrepreneurs, philanthropists. I mean, Regina girls do it all and they live all over the country, but when we hear from them, they're proud of their community. They're proud of their classmates. They support one another. And I think just that experience, being able to have that for 65 plus years, but also to evolve and grow in who we are, I think is pretty incredible. So
Yeah.
I would say it's easy when you have great alumni who support us and great students and great families that are here and, gaining their feedback and involving them in this process with us. I would say it's easy when you have
Yeah.
incredible people.
Yeah. No, and again, it's amazing that you're able to, generate that amount of loyalty.
Mhm.
Any organization would love to have people walking around the community with shirts that have their name on it, or sweatshirts, or putting yard signs out that
Yeah.
say, I'm, a Regina girl, or I'm, a Regina Dominican graduate, and things like that. Any organization would love that kind of loyalty.
Mhm.
But a lot of it too is, and again, you've talked about the fact that, your leadership team, you had a new president
Mhm.
started, and Krista has been very visible
Yeah.
in the community. That's just another way. And like you said, you do community events where the students are in their
Mhm.
uniforms helping volunteer. It's another way to get the brand in front of people. So I think you've done an amazing job of leveraging all of the possible touch points that you can to get the word out about Regina, even utilizing student volunteers to help
Mhm.
you with social media
Oh,
and,
yes. They are
getting
better
the
at
word out.
TikTok than I am. I'm a millennial. They will humble me in a heartbeat if I think something is very cool for TikTok. And they're like, that trend literally ended 5 minutes ago, Mrs. Rich. And I'm like, okay, then here you go. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But another interesting aspect of, a lot of companies have both a user for
Hmm.
their product or service
Hmm.
and a buyer for their
Hmm.
product and service. So that was something we worked on as well, is that not only are you branding and creating messages for the families,
Right.
but you also have to convince the girls because a lot of
Right.
times they're the ones who are saying, Mom or Dad, this is the
Yeah.
school I want to go to. So what could you share maybe with others who have, a decision maker and a buyer, or at least multiple audiences, is how do you look at how you're going to get the message out? And does the message have to change? In many
Hmm.
cases it does, but does it have to change for parents versus students?
It definitely has to change because we always have to remember that, you just said it yourself. A lot of the time, it is a 13 or 14-year-old girl who is making a very expensive decision.
Hmm.
And, how far ahead is that girl going to project herself into where she wants to be in her future? And how do we fit in with her plan? When we're working with prospective families, specifically the students, we want to know, what do you want out of high school?
Hmm.
What kind of experiences do you want to have? Where do you see yourself as a sophomore? Where do you see yourself as a senior? How can we fit into that plan? Are we the best fit for you? And is that student the best fit for us? Are they going to come here and become involved? 100% of our students are involved in at least one thing,
Hmm.
whether it's a club, whether it's community service, athletics, fine arts. Being a Regina Girl, you have to be involved. We want you engaged in our community. So how, it's twofold. How do we fit into your life, and how can you fit into our community? And with the parents, the messaging is really invest in your daughter.
Hmm.
This is investing in your daughter's future. It's investing in her currently as a teenager. We specialize in educating young women, and there is a crisis right now with depression and anxiety, especially with young girls, and we are cognizant of that. And we want to tell these parents, this is an incredible place for your daughter. This is worth the investment. And it's also not just her who's going to be here for 4 years. You're walking alongside her as well. So these are the things that we have for you planned, whether it's special events or resources about college placement or youth development, how to, parenting with young teen girls. How does that impact them in high school and in the classroom? So we want to be the fit for both the daughter and the parent, but also we know that there's a best fit for every family, and getting to know not just the daughter, but also those touch points with the parents is extremely important. Know your audience, know how they communicate, know the language. How I talk to a student is not going to be how I talk to their parent. The student wants to learn about, do you have homecoming? We're an all girls school. Do you have flag football? What kind of sports do you have? How many musicals do you have? And then the parents are mainly looking at, where are your girls getting into college? You're an all-girls school. Do you ever see boys? Those are the types of
Right.
questions that they're asking, which is completely different than what the girls are asking. So really knowing the audience on a personal level and who you're talking to is extremely important, and something that we do very well here.
No, I absolutely agree. You know, in general, know your audience. That's the best way to communicate and be relevant to people and get across your brand. But
Mm-hmm.
then I think what makes you unique is that honor that you give to the student, saying, you are 13 or 14, but I care about your opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
care about what you care about at this particular time. And I think you do a very good job of honoring that, making the students feel like you're listening to them,
Mm-hmm.
you're caring about where they do want to go in the future, even if they don't know where they want to go
Mm-hmm.
in the future. So I think, you've definitely done a great job of making sure that your brand
Mm-hmm.
messaging about, we care about you, it's a warm, welcoming environment, we're here to give you a unique, personalized experience, it resonates in the actual experience itself.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to all
Thank
of
you.
you
Well,
who
thank you for helping, because that getting there, was an experience. So,
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this has been fascinating. And, I hope other high schools listen in on taking your insights in how to do this right. But I think any organization who
hmm
has multiple audiences, who
yeah.
has to sell multiple messages on why they should work with you or, spend money with you and things like that, it's really going to help them to decide where to focus and how to leverage all of their assets. So, but I want to ask you one last question, which
Yeah.
is, can you help me honor a small business, a private school, something in your community where someone is doing such a really good job with branding that you just want to give them a shout out?
I would love to. So I'm going to give a shout out to the Glenview Grind. It is a coffee shop in Glenview run by a Regina Dominican alum. Her name is Kathy Schiltz. She's amazing. And she is a Regina girl. She has employed Regina girls. She fuels me during the recruiting season with her incredible drinks. But she's also really community based. She's taken her coffee shop, the Glenview Grind. They go out to Oktoberfest with a coffee stand, 5K runs, they work with different schools and different philanthropies. And I think that what Kathy has done with her small business, with her coffee shop, is really I think, a great example of a Regina girl caring about her community and caring about her customers. And so Glenview Grind, if you're ever driving through, there is a drive-through, literally, great coffee, great business. That is my shout out. So Kathy,
Excellent.
she's a great Regina girl. Yes.
Excellent. Well, we will let Kathy know that you
Yeah.
gave her a shout out, and I hope others definitely go check that out. So,
Yeah.
but Ellie, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your insights.
Yeah.
Just really appreciate it. But after listening to this podcast, if families in the
Yes.
North Shore or North Chicago are interested in exploring the benefits of an adult education, or they
Yes.
want to learn more about Regina, what should they do?
If you would like to learn more about Regina Dominican High School, we would love to see you at our open house on November 2nd. We also have shadow days in the fall for eighth graders. You can visit our website, which is going to be looking nice and refreshed on October 6th. So visit www.rdpanthers.org and sign up for a tour, reach out to a member of the enrollment team, come to campus. We always encourage families to come see what it's like here at 701 Locust Road.
Absolutely. Excellent. So perfect. So again, thank you for joining us for this episode
Thank
of
you
the
for
Turbo
having
Branding
me.
Show. And I hope this has inspired all of you listeners to ignite your growth by leveraging your brand. And if you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you could help me build a strong brand following for the show. So please share this episode and be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thank you again, Ellie, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you, Sue.